Hey everyone, wanted to make a video to talk about how you should be rolling your jewels, specifically the new extended tree jewels, the large cluster jewels. I'm going to be talking about specifically in this video because it seems to me like a lot of people are really not utilizing these jewels really well. And what I mean is, I'll just go on PoE Ninja here. And I'm going to go to builds. I frequently check characters that are similar to mine and see how they're running it and see if there's maybe some adjustments I can make. So if you never use PoE Ninja, I really recommend using this site because it can kind of really show a wide array of characters that are similar to yours, or maybe something you're potentially looking to play. So I'm going to go ahead, and I know one item that's an auto include in my build is Chain of the Primordial, so I'm going to use that as a filter, and I can immediately see pretty much all the elementalists that are running Chain of the Primordial. If I necessarily want to narrow it down even more, I can maybe go summon Stone Golem, and now I can see literally every single elementalist that plays Stone Golem, and here I am right here, and here's everybody else. And the reason why I wanted to make this video is because it seems like people aren't taking full advantage of these jewels. So I opened up the passive tree heat map here. Basically, if you never use this site, what this shows is the most common frequent pathing routes on the tree based on whatever build you're looking at. And what I'm seeing on builds that are really similar to mine is that they're taking all of these outside jewel sockets, like this one, this one, this one, and you really shouldn't be doing that now with the jewels that we have, with these new extended jewel sockets. So let's look at this top guy, for instance, and let's see how his passive tree looks. So this guy's building it a little differently than me, but you can see that there's a lot of pathing he takes here just for 1, 2, 3, 4 jewel sockets. So for 4 jewel sockets, he pretty much paths around all these nodes. And I'll just say this right now, this is pretty damn inefficient. So, I mean, I don't know how many nodes he's allocated here, but this really isn't the most efficient thing to do. So I wanted to make this video to kind of show how you need to appropriately take advantage of these jewels to get the most out of your points. So when you're looking for a large cluster jewel, it doesn't really matter what build you're doing, but the first thing you want to do is make sure it's an 8 passives skills cluster jewel. You don't want more than 8, because as soon as you start getting more than 8, that's just immediately it's just adding wasted travel nodes. So you never want more than 8. Basically, flat out, in pretty much 99.9% of cases, you never want more than 8. So the first thing you want to do is get a large jewel cluster that has 8 passive skills. Then obviously you want to match the second enchant with whatever it is you're doing, whether it's chaos damage or minion damage for me or whatever it is. But you never want more than 8 passive jewels. So if your build right now is running a 10 or a 12 large cluster jewel, you want to get rid of it because it's just a waste of points. So you want an 8. The next thing you want is you want to make sure it's at least eye level 75. At eye level 75, what starts happening is it starts to be able to roll this 2 added passive skills or jewel sockets. If you don't have an eye level 75, you can only roll 1. There's 2 tiers of added passive skills or jewel sockets. There's 1 and 2. The 2 requires eye level 75. So pretty much whatever jewel you're looking for, you always want it to be an 8 passive skills with an eye level 75. That's flat out number 1. And you can see if you go on PoE trade, they kind of go from like 1 chaos, 2 chaos, 3 chaos, and then they'll automatically shoot up to like 20 or 30 chaos. And that's for this reason right here. So people have kind of been starting to catch on to this, and I think Ziggy made a video about it like pretty recently, so I think a lot of people kind of know now about it, a little more than before, but I actually kind of found out about this even earlier, so I felt like this was definitely worth sharing. So once you get your jewel, you pretty much want to just start rolling in. Make sure you have a good heap of alts, regals, and scours. I generally would say it's probably be hard to chaos spam this. So one thing to note is this jewel functions like a regular jewel, so it has 2 prefixes, 2 suffixes. Basically what you're looking for is, number 1, you want a adds two jewel sockets, and then the rest of the 3 you want simply notables. So the best possible jewel is 2 sockets with 3 notables. That's basically what you want. If you're alt-regaling, you can't get 4, you can only get 3 mods. So I managed to make this jewel right here, which is pretty nice. I checked online, and this jewel right here was going for like 2 exalts, and I just crafted it, you know, using just some alts and regals. So you probably don't need to pay anywhere from like 2 to 5 exalts for jewels. That's probably generally a waste of currency. With that much chaos orb, with like 200 to 400 chaos, you can definitely craft a pretty good jewel. So in general, you shouldn't be spending exalts on these jewels. They're pretty easy to roll. The mods are restricted to the enchantment modifier. So in general, it's not hard to roll these jewels. They kind of, I guess, did that on purpose. So the one I have here is adds 2 sockets or jewel sockets, and then I also have some pretty good notables. I have Rotten Claws, which gives me a little bit of additional impale, and then I have Renewal, which gives my minions a chance to deal double damage, which is pretty big. These are weighted, so some of them are weighted more than others. There's a lot of common ones. The good ones are more rare, so like Primordial Bond, it's basically the Golem Keystone, or Golem Notable, I'm sorry. It's pretty rare, and it's weighted quite low, so it's pretty hard to roll. But I'll just go ahead and start alt spamming here, and basically what I'm looking for is something like this. So I want to see that 2 passive skills or jewel sockets, and or a notable that I like, and then I can either augment or regal to see if I can hit something else. In this case, I don't really want Raise and Pillage, so I'm just going to keep going. And I immediately roll past 1 jewel socket, because you don't want 1 jewel socket, you want 2 jewel sockets. Feasting Fiends is also something I don't really want, so I'm going to roll past that. So here we go, I got 2 passive skills of jewel sockets. I'm just going to augment it now and see what I get. Skeletal Atrophy, I don't run skeletons, so I don't need that. Here we go, we'll augment again. Feasting Fiends, don't want that. So I've noticed with the minion jewels, Feasting Fiends is a pretty common one, and the skeleton one is pretty common as well. So typically you want to try to avoid those, or at least for me, for the build I'm playing. They also have these modifiers, which are added small passive skills, also grant something, something, something. I generally say avoid these as well, because they pretty much just take up what could be a notable slot. So unless you really have no other good notables, you should kind of avoid these as well, because again, that could be a notable slot instead. So you don't really want those either. And same thing for this one right here, this Potent. You don't really want this. Here's 2 again, and Rotten Claws. So my minions already actually have pretty much maxed out Impale, so I don't really need that. So this is a pretty good one to regal. Renewal, it gives my minions a 10% chance to deal double damage. My golems are basically always on full life, so this is a pretty good regal. And I had Call to the Slaughter, which isn't really that good. I don't create minions recently, so basically all this gives me is 15% minion damage, which definitely isn't that substantial. So I'm going to just scour and restart. So again, Rotten Claws, don't really need that anymore. So I'm pretty much looking for 2 jewel sockets with Primordial Bond and ideally some other good notable. That's really what I'm looking for. If I can hit something like that, that would be the dream, so to speak. Something interesting also. If you guys watch my previous videos, I talked about the Voices unique jewel and how that jewel is really kind of the best in slot jewel, and it is. However, there's been some interesting things that have happened or things that I figured out about the jewel. When GGG initially released the teaser of that jewel, they released the best version possible of that jewel, which is only one node that doesn't grant anything. However, it can also have a version with 3, 5, and 7 nodes that don't grant anything. So the one node that doesn't grant anything is going to be extremely rare. I still haven't seen a 3 or a 1, so they're probably going to be very expensive. And the one notable Voices jewel is probably going to cost, I would estimate, anywhere from 10 to 30 exalts. So that's going to be quite a rare one. So I'm not getting those anytime soon. So I'm just going to be rolling these guys for now. As you can see, Feasting Fiends are a really common one. Rotten Claws is also a pretty common one. And at this point, I don't really want those anymore. So I'm basically looking for more of the rare ones. So this is actually a pretty good one to reveal here. I don't have the 2 jewel sockets on this, but this is pretty much exactly what I want. Minus what's missing is the 2 jewel sockets. So it has Primordial Bond and Renewal. These are pretty much my top 2 notables that I want. Now, if I could hit 2 jewel sockets, that would be the dream. And I didn't, so I'm just going to scour and restart. Oh, I think I rolled over another good one. That's okay, let's keep going. Rotten Claws I don't need. Primordial Bond is good. Rotten Claws I don't need, though. So again, Renewal, Primordial Bond, that's Regal, and nothing there. Rotten Claws I don't need. Feasting Fiends I don't need. Primordial Bond, Renewal again. Skills of Atrophy, I don't need that. One Jewel Socket I don't need. Call of the Slaughter I don't need. I'm going pretty slow here because I just want to make sure I don't roll over potentially anything nice. Renewal, Primordial Bond again. Oh, we got 1 jewel socket. So if this was a 2 jewel socket, this thing would have been insane. That would be like an auto include immediately, but unfortunately it didn't hit the 2 jewel socket, it hit a 1 jewel socket. I guess technically this is still quite a good jewel, but I just want better than that, so I'm gonna scour and keep going here. So Renewal, 2 jewel sockets, this is also a really nice one, and let's see if we can hit the Regal, and we got Raisin Pillage, not what I'm looking for. Renewal again with 2 jewel sockets, so we'll go ahead and regal this. Whew! This is what I'm talking about. Here we go. So that's it. Primordial Bond, Renewal, 2 jewel sockets. I would exalt this jewel because this is insane already as it is. So we hit it. And I can honestly probably put this jewel up on the PoE trade for like 5x, but I'm going to hold on to it because I want that jewel and I'm definitely not going to sell it. So
I will see you.
This is the kind of stuff you want to do. I just got 2 jewel sockets, 10% chance to deal double damage, and primordial bond for what will be basically 10 points. So you factor in 3 points here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 points for 2 jewel sockets and this insane thing. So I hope you guys kind of got something out of this video. This is how you want to be rolling these jewel sockets. This is the kind of stuff you want. It'll make your build much more efficient and much more powerful. So hope you guys enjoyed this informative video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.